Hello, and thank you for watching. I'm Michael Sloten with Fitness Therapy, and I'm going to try today to talk to you and teach you some things that could help you actually reverse the processes that go on when you have pain in your body. So you may have pain, I'll recap from yesterday, you may have pain from an original injury. Then, in addition to that, you could have changes to your posture because of compensations. But the goal is for us to establish a good postural base where your ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders line up straight, and that the curves in your spine are equal and balanced, and that the tissue between the front and the back of your body are also balanced in terms of their tension, and between the left and right side. All right, so those are our ideal goals to move towards. But now I need to teach you some of the methods by which I help someone move there. And I think the best way for me to do that is to explain a couple of concepts. And yesterday I talked about whether a muscle was on or a muscle was off. And if a muscle was on, it's producing lactic acid and causing pain. But I think there's something else that you need to know about the muscle. What happens when you bring the ends of a line closer together, of a rope or a wire? What happens is that you get slack, and you can see that slack. So if I have an attachment to my psoas hip flexors attached to my hip bone and goes over the pubic bone and then attaches to the actual front of my spine, when I'm standing, then that muscle is at a normal distance. But if I sit down, then that distance between my one end of the hip flexors and the other end are actually closer together. And so there's no slack in your body. If the two ends of your muscles get closer together, then the muscle will shorten and spin. It will spin in order to get shortened. Just like when a kid is on a swing and then they go around in a circle, they'll start going up, and then when they spin around, they'll come down. Well, your muscles will get shorter and it will twist in order to make up that slack. So there's no slack in a muscle. Neurologically, it just won't happen. So I'm going to go over a very common problem that really seems to be evident in most modern postural problems, and that is that we sit. And when we sit, we bring the ends of our psoas muscles closer together, and that shortens and tightens the psoas hip flexor muscles. But because we're bending our knee, we are shortening our hamstring muscles. Because we're flexing our spine, we also shorten our neck muscles. In addition to shorten our neck muscles, then sometimes we will stress the very smallest muscles at the top of the neck called the Capitis muscles. So this is a pattern that occurs from sitting. In addition, the way that the sacrum works is that the hip bones attached to the triangle bones, let's say my pinky and my hand, this opening in this gap is my sacrum bones, but then the iliac bones actually spread. And when they spread, when I'm sitting, then the femurs actually rotate outward. Okay? So now, when the femurs rotate outwards, then that shortens and tightens the gluteus, medius, and periformis muscles and lead to a tendency to turn your feet out. So these are just patterns that develop from sitting. And we sit when we're driving, and we sit when we're working, and we sit when we're eating, we sit on the computer, and we sit in front of the TV, and we sit in bed. And so that's changing the normal length of your muscles. And it is easy for your muscles to think that is the state by which it should be maintaining its position. So now, when you stand up, you have a shortened psoas muscle, and you try to stretch it, but it doesn't stretch. Then it pulls your hips forward and creates an extra curve in your lumbar. In addition to that, yesterday we discussed that a muscle that is turned on, or a muscle that is shortened, is turned on and is producing waste product. And that waste product starts to irritate the area and causes inflammation and pain. All right, so let's just break down this very common postural problem of oversitting. Short, tight muscles in your neck, short, tight muscles in your capitis, short, tight muscles in your hip flexors, short, tight muscles in your hamstrings. And so if I was going to say, well, how do we unravel this? I would probably want to start with the larger muscles first. And so, so I have a problem with short, tight muscles because they are forcing my gluteal muscles and my low back to turn off. That's called reciprocal inhibition, and when it's in this state for a prolonged period of time, then you have an altered reciprocal inhibition. So now you have weak, flaccid muscles in your gluteal area and in your lumbar. So we have to actually turn them on. All right, so then if you think about your hamstrings are short and tight, that means your quadriceps are being turned off. They're weak. So we have to turn the quadriceps off, turn the quadriceps on to help balance the hamstrings. And so now that I've described some of the activities, I want to talk to you about the way that I go about addressing these things. And the first thing is that I would like to start to strengthen the body, because when you're in pain, then you have overall weakness. So we really need to work the gluteal muscles, but I think that it's most important when you have a muscle turned on to go in this pattern where you actually address the tight muscles first. And so, in my mind, the knee now is vulnerable because the hamstring has been turned off while you're sitting and the quadriceps have not. I also think that it's important to produce lubrication or synovial fluid in the knee. And so I'd like to redirect my camera so that I can lay on the ground and show you the very first exercise that I would do to change this postural issue.